Hello and welcome. I'm Anand Naidoo sitting in for Riz Khan. You may have heard of the Lost Boys of Sudan. The name refers to the thousands of boys from southern Sudan who were brought to the United States in the last few years of the Sudanese Civil War. Many were orphaned or separated from their families during that war, which spanned 2 decades and killed 2 million people. They're now scattered over dozens of American cities. A recent film followed 3 of these lost boys as they struggle to adjust in their new American homes. Let's take a look at a scene from a documentary that followed some of the refugees in America, Dinka Diaries.
This picture here gave me that flashback of life in a refugee camp. Kind of look young there, but that was me back in the days. In a refugee camp, people don't work, there's nothing really happening. You get up every morning, it's the same day like yesterday. It will be the same, It doesn't change. It's just the same day every day, I still remember these days, man, life in the camp.
Don't forget, we take your calls on the show. You can reach us at the numbers there at the bottom of your screen. Joining me now to discuss the journey of these 3 young men are the director of Dinka Diaries, Philmon Mebratu, and one of the boys who came to America, Joseph Grang Deng. Joseph was followed around for 10 months in the making of the film to show how he and others are adjusting to life in the 5th largest city in America, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Gentlemen, both, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks.
Philmon, I want to start off with you. Your film, Dinka Diaries, the documentary, tells the stories of 3 Sudanese refugees in America, 3 young boys who came here. But the story actually starts a long time before that, in 1987, when the conflict broke out in Sudan. Just give us a bit of background to that.
Yeah, what happened was in 1987, a lot of the young men that are talked about in the film were young, right about 3 to 4 years old. And in the Dinka tradition, the young boys are out tending cattle out in the fields. And their villages got bombed and they scattered. And there was a band of these young boys, about 17,000 of them, that eventually found their way to Ethiopia, to UN camp in Ethiopia. And then in 1991, with the Ethiopian regime, the Mengistu regime that was being overthrown, their UN camp in Ethiopia came under attack at that time as well, and they again made a trek to Kenya. And through this trek, about half of them survived. And in 2000, November 2000, was when the U.S. State Department approved the resettlement of about 3,800 of these young boys to come to America, of which 80 of them came to Philadelphia. And
okay,
that's
and Joseph, you were among that 80 that came to the United States?
Yes, I was.
When was that?
This was in November 2000.
So you've been here for something like 7 years
Almost
now.
7 years right now.
Well, if you could sort of summarize it for us, what has your experience been in the last 7 years?
My experience are, at first it was challenging, coming out from where I came from in Southern Sudan, getting into a high school education system, the different culture, the dressing code, and the English itself was tough. People talk faster than I used to do, and I would be like, can you say that again? So I was always behind, and that was one of the challenges. The second other challenge was the work, and when we first got here, we didn't have a job to go to, but I had a desire to work so I can go back and support my family.
And you keep in touch with your family?
Yes, I do. Yep. My mother and sibling right now, they are in Nakuru, Kenya.
Right. Philmon, now in the movie you track 3 young boys as they go through the years here in the United States. How did you choose them?
What happened was when they came in November 2000, I was just beginning to explore using video as a means to document African immigrant experiences. And they were in the news. They'd come to Philadelphia, and I'd met one of the young men, Deng Cole, who's featured in the documentary, usually wearing headphones, listening to elders' words of advice. And I'd met him, and through meeting him, I got to know him. And he was the first person I spoke with about the idea of doing a documentary, and he led me to Joseph and Abraham and Michael and 3 other boys that were also part of making the film, and that's how we're able to kind of get together to make this film.
Now, you're also an immigrant from Africa.
Yes.
Was
yes.
did you find that while you were making this movie that you found your experience was very different from the ones of the boys? Or?
Well, it's different in the sense that when I came here for college. So it was almost my immigrant experience has been that of an education and professional experience working, and then eventually kind of changing course in my professional career to do filmmaking. But what I found in making the film was there's a lot of things that each of the young men spoke about that resonated with my experience. And those are the things that I, as an immigrant, felt that I went through and knew that people around me went through. And I think that's how the story came about, because their story is also a universal immigrant story, even though they're from southern Sudan. Immigrants from different countries go through the same process in trying to negotiate cultural differences and values and notions of social relationships and notions of time, where things are just, the values are drastically different here. Mm-hmm. And each of them negotiates them differently, but I saw myself and my experience reflected in each of those stories.
It's very much about the assimilation of cultures when you move from one continent to the other, or from even, on the same continent, from one country to the other. I want to play a clip from Dinka Diaries. This is about culture, about the assimilation of culture. It's in the documentary. Let's take a look at that.
What do you think is most interesting about, like, American culture?
In other parts of the world, life is very complex, it's very complicated. But here in America, you get an opportunity to explore many things, People are free and everything is very accessible,
Joseph, let me ask you this. 7 years you've been here. What do you miss most about your country?
Of course, the food. As you know, in Africa, men don't cook, and I'm trying to adjust to that.
I can identify with that, yes.
So, and I miss my family, and that's one very important thing. I do often talks with them once in a while over the phone. The other part of it is the cultural activities. Back home, there is always like a gathering where people, different group play different dance, and here is not here.
You don't find that community here? No.
Yeah,
but
we did keep it alive for a while in Souderton, Pennsylvania, where we get together, young boys and girls, of adults. Then we play, we dance, just to keep our culture. But then when after a school year, everybody is in college, and then it just disappears.
Right. You were going to say something?
Oh yeah, no, because that's again one of the differences that we were talking about culturally. Because in a communal environment, I mean, it's a lot of the culture is experienced through whether it's proverbs or stories that you hear from your grandparents or your parents or your cousins, and that's how our cultures are. And so when you come to America, it's so each person's got their own schedule, and your schedules don't match, and it's very difficult to meet. And so that loss of a communal culture is really, it's something that I feel, something that is also noted in the film, and it's one of the main differences in America, I would say.
Right.
And that's true because as we, I should say, as Dinka, we live in extended family, and imagine I myself right now, I'm the only one who is living here in the United States in my family. And being someone from extended family is difficult and different, and that's one of the things that I missed.
Now, looking at the documentary, and it really is a really great documentary. It's very engaging and very touching in parts, when you watch this. You used a technique whereby almost, well, all of the documentary, in fact, is done in the first person.
Yeah, it is. It's when I set out to do a documentary, it was a conscious decision that what I wanted to do was to have the subjects be at the forefront of the work. I didn't want myself or somebody to kind of explain what they're going through, or to be like a third. I didn't want a third voice to be present in the film, and that's why the diaries were important. And that's why in the beginning of the documentary, we actually together attended a video training sessions where they each had their camera, and for the the training session being important for them to kind of own the camera and speak into the camera. They had diaries where I didn't tell them what to speak about, but they spoke about what was important to them. And I think that carries through the film, and even the background of the historical and footnotes on the conflict is also brought through Joseph's personal interest in wanting to learn more, and he goes to the embassy and the SPLA, and that's how that's also presented in the film. And I think that's something that I'm very proud of, that we made it together.
Oh, it certainly is very effective. You know, it does, like I said, it does make the movie very engaging. There is something, Joseph, that I noticed in the movie. On several occasions, you talk about marriage. You talk about the fact that, that is something that you'd like to marry someone, a Dinka person, a Dinka woman. That is something that you'd like to retain. Let's take a look at a little clip here from the documentary.
Who knows when I'm going to get married?
You will get married. Not now, but sometime. Someday.
Maybe 2010 or something?
No, not that far. Probably 2006.
Come on.
Yeah, really.
What was the circumstances behind that conversation there?
What did you say again?
The circumstances behind that conversation.
Well, at some point I'm going to get married.
Yeah, but I mean, were these just compatriots that you all live together in Philadelphia?
We live together in Philadelphia, but actually she's a friend. And we were just sitting and hanging out and talking about the general idea of marriage back in Sudan. The way we, right here, there is what is called dowries, and that is like bride price. Right. In our culture, we look at it a different way. First, say if I give the cow to the parents, then that does not mean I'm buying her. It to me like that this is part of the ceremony, and actually they are going to prepare the meal with what I have offer. So, and the reason I say who know, actually I didn't know, and actually 2006 was really far away from at that particular time.
All right.
And they were watching a video of his cousin who got married, and they had the ceremony in Kenya where the cousin wasn't able to attend, so they filmed the ceremony, and they just got in the video, so we were watching the wedding ceremony, and that's where the discussion about marriage took place, where he's like, I want to get married.
Oh, I see, okay.
So that's
the documentary Dinka Diaries, what about distribution? Has it been seen in many parts of America or around the world?
It was funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, so it aired in over 200 public television stations in April. I have a distributor, Documentary Educational Resources, who's marketing the film out to television stations around the world. As of now, I know South African Broadcasting Corporation has indicated an interest to license it, and we're very excited about that. And we're looking at other sources of distribution as well.
And have you got any kind of response from people who've seen it?
The responses I've gotten, we were just talking in Joseph, was they get a lot of the responses more than I, because a lot of times when it airs, I'm invisible to it. Yeah, but he gets calls from people all over, and maybe Joseph can talk about it.
And actually that is really, before I knew that night that it was on, I got a call from a friend, and she was like, I saw you on TV. And I was like, which one? And she said the documentary. And a lot of people from work, they come to me, they call me and say, oh, that's really impressive film. Where can I get a copy? And I'm getting a lot of calls about people are excited about it. So it was really good to hear that from people.
I was wondering, when you watch a movie like this, and perhaps both of you could answer this, when does a refugee stop becoming a refugee?
Or when does an immigrant stop becoming an immigrant?
Or when
perhaps?
does a refugee become an immigrant and then becomes a fully fledged, fully
well,
paid up American?
And the funny thing is, I have discussions with people, because my interest in doing this documentary had to do with immigrant experiences, my own experience, leaving Eritrea at the age of 6, living in Cameroon, India, United Arab Emirates, and then the United States. And I've always, traveled, and the notion of identity and transnational identity was always kind of important to me. So my entry into the documentary wasn't necessarily an interest in Sudan and southern Sudan, but it was the immigrant, the notion of the immigrant experience. So a lot of times I don't refer to myself as an American. I'm an Eritrean, but when I look at what I've done, you know, having been an electrical engineer and left my career to do what I'm doing in filmmaking, a lot of times that may also be an indication of what an American thing to do is, to kind of follow your bliss in a way. And so sometimes, you know, even though I'm not comfortable saying I'm an American, I've been here over 20 years, it's you know, for other people, I see more American than I think I am. But
okay, Joseph, we have literally 30 seconds. What is your response to that? Will you ever become an American?
I have already become an American, but I feel as Sudanese, and is that click in mind that is set as where you came from. So even if people are from their own country, they still feel the way they were.
So you'll always be Sudanese.
Yeah. Even if I'm an American.
Well, gentlemen, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for coming in, and I hope the movie gets more distribution. I hope it's seen in many, many other parts of the world. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you for being with us. On the next show, we speak with a globe-trotting reporter for the Wall Street Journal who decided to write the book on adultery. Pamela Druckerman is the author of Lust in Translation, The Rules of Infidelity from Tokyo to Tennessee. Be sure to join us. Don't forget, if you have any thoughts about pressing issues around the world, send us your emails to riz@aljazeera.net. See you next time. Street Talk is next.